All right, everybody, back here live at Podcast Palace, right here in the beautiful city of Long Beach. I'm your host, Favi. What did I say? Podcast Place, right here. Solomon will get on you if you do that. In the beautiful city of Long Beach, it's a rainy day today, but we're here. We're live. We're going to be doing a lot of good interviews, not only with specific people, but people from I was going to say different cultures, but I want to say different backgrounds because we got two special guests in here today. I'm your host, Favi Chulo. A lot of stuff going on, but sitting directamente to my left, the man himself, the owner, the proprietor of the Pacific Wrestling Alliance, Michael Parks.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing tonight? Glad y'all can make it here to check us out.
It's going to be a slamming show because not only do we have our special guest, but sitting right over here, right across from me, we got Jessica herself. Jessica, we call her Jessica Nicolette. Sometimes they call her Nicolette by nature. Sometimes they just call her Nicolette, but she is a certified inspector for camo. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I thought you were going to say certified lover boy fan. I am too. I thought you were going to ask me about like the Kendrick Drake beef.
Wow.
And I also want to say too that shout out to Big Mike. I don't know if you saw me at LLA, but I got to sit next to Big Mike. So that's so awesome. I walked in like last minute. There was all the show was sold out and I got to sit next to Big Mike, the owner of PWA.
And it's awesome because, since Jessica and I are both here, for the people who don't know, Jessica is my daughter. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too, because anytime we're working camo, everybody goes, she goes, oh, that's my dad over there. And I go, that's your real dad? Yes,
and then people will like come to the locker room and they're like, your boyfriend's asking for your husband's calling you. There's an old guy he wants to see. And I'm like, okay, I'll be over there right now. Because Favi and I work two separate locker rooms.
Yeah. Or they'll go, hey, that girl you're talking to, that's your girlfriend? And they go, dang, you done came up. I go, nah, that's my daughter. Oh, okay. So we're going to get into talking a little bit about that as well, because, Jessica is one of the few female inspectors that's working for the California State Athletic Commission and camo and, for the mixed martial arts. But our special guest today, we're extremely happy to have him here. He just finished defending his title at the Up Next Fighting 145-pound champion. Sitting right here to my right, Albert Morales. A little round of applause for my man, Albert Morales. I don't know which button to hit because I don't have my glasses, so we'll just tap like that. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man.
Man, it's good. I got to tell you, I want to talk a little bit about your fight because I was watching it before we came, and it was just over so quick. And you're like, hey, man, I had a game plan. It's not like I just, went in there and started swinging wildly or whatever. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we talk about your big title defense, this is what Mike and I try to do. We try to give the behind the scenes because everybody gets to see the finished product. Because I know you're not familiar with the show, but I worked for Tapa for so long, and then I worked for Ed Sorres. I worked for him for a year over when Black House was like completely private, and just Anderson and Lyoto Machida, and them were the only ones that were there. It was totally private. And then when he sold Sinister Brand, then I went over to On the Mat, worked for them for a while, did announcing for King of the Cage. So when we talked about this before on the first show, when I first started working for King of the Cage as announcing, this is when I make and I sit right by the cage. And man, I would. The one that killed me the most was people get hit with those liver shots because you can, and then they're just down. Yeah. So ever since then, seeing what they go through and little things like the weigh-ins, this guy, I'll give you a good for instance. When Ronda had her first fight against Ileana Gomez, she was 4 pounds over. And the commission said, man, we can't sanction this fight, man. She's 4 pounds over. And she's like, well, wait a minute, man. This is a payday for me. I don't want to go home empty-handed. So they had her, she drank a half a gallon of water to come up 2 pounds so that they can meet. And see, that's the stuff people don't see. You know what I mean? Or if they don't, they got to redo the contracts or, stuff like that. So that's why we wanted to have this show so that people could see the behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because we were driving to work and we see somebody running like that. And I said, I didn't even see him. Luckily, Jessica's with me. And she said, I think that's Albert. And the fighter? Yeah. And she says, yeah. So then later on, she says, hey, that was him. He was running, and he was running black. I said, he was running that's a long way, dude. That's a far way. And before we came in, he said, yeah, dude, I didn't do it that day, but I can do it or whatever. I was like, God dang. So
how far is it?
Dude, it's
really not that far, believe it or not.
Well, for Favi, it's far.
Yeah. Well, 2 blocks is far for me, but
that route that I run it's about the same distance. I think Black House is a little bit. I think Black House is like 4.2.
Well, because Black House
miles.
is in Gardena on the other side of the freeway, right?
Yeah.
On Avalon, just
Yup.
down,
Right,
down that
Alondra
way.
and Avalon.
Right.
Between Avalon and Maine.
Right.
So it's like from my house, it's 4.2, 4.5,
Well,
something like
no
that.
wonder he's the up next fighting champion for him.
I hate running.
I know. Well,
Albert's the reason I look both ways on Arlington and Sepulveda, though. I'm like, gotta make sure there's nobody crossing.
it's funny because now we see
Yeah.
there's hey, maybe we'll see Albert running or whatever. But so talk a little. Okay, first of all, everybody wants to know, how you got into mixed martial arts and fighting because it's funny because the trends are kind of different. Well, like when the UFC first started, a lot of people were just doing jiu-jitsu, and then it kind of went to like more stand-up when Chuck Liddell had the belt and stuff like that. It seemed like it kind of made a big turn to stand up, So and then nowadays, people can figure out your style, and you got to be very well rounded. You know what I mean? So did you start with boxing, or did you start with jiu-jitsu, or did it all come together? Tell us how it all came about.
So it's a long story. I started when I was 21.
Okay.
My whole 20, I think I went to jail the day before my birthday. So from 20, and then I got out, I think it was May 10th. My birthday is May 25th. So 15 days before my 21st birthday. I was in jail for about a year. Well,
Okay.
for a year. I was sentenced to 2 years with halftime, right? But I had to do it the whole time in the county. But it was a blessing because like I came out with no probation and none of that. And that's where I decided to fight. So I was in jail. My girlfriend at the time was pregnant with my eldest kid. Let me see. I went in, she was 6 months pregnant. When I got out, my daughter was 6 months old.
Uh-huh.
So like I said, in there, I decided that I was going to fight. I signed up I knew UFC was, they did MMA and UFC. That's
Right,
all I knew.
right.
I didn't know the process.
About what year was this?
My daughter's born 2012.
Oh,
No,
okay.
2011. So I got out 2012.
Okay.
So yeah, it was 2012. So it was
Yeah,
May
so
2012.
it was right about, because for some reason 2007 sticks out to me because that's when Tap Out was at its peak, and that's when it was really starting to take a turn for the big time. So now 2012,
Yeah.
it's starting to prosper.
Yeah,
And
so
you could make a lot more money than you could back then.
for sure.
Because back then it was like Chuck and Tito were making the most, and everybody below that was maybe $3,000 to fight, and this is in the UFC. So now we're 2012. So is that what motivated you? Say, look, man, I can make a pretty good payday.
No, I just needed to do something. Yeah, I needed to stay out of jail. My dad
Keep you occupied.
Yeah, my dad wasn't in my life,
Yeah.
and that was like a big thing. I wanted to be there for my daughter.
That's right.
So that was the biggest thing. And I remember we were playing cards. I was playing cards. It was store night, and we were all just there. And they had the Ultimate Fighter on TV, and I had watched UFC 1 with my stepdad. My stepdad did jiu-jitsu. He got
Yeah.
to blue belt.
Yeah.
But we lived in the Valley. I'm from Reseda.
Oh, okay.
And I lived there most of my life. But my stepdad would train at the Gracie Academy because he worked at Northrop. And
In
he would,
Torrance?
Yeah. But he would always come to the Valley. So he introduced me to jiu-jitsu and MMA, like not teach me, but I knew what it was. I knew there was levels to fighting because I would fight in the streets. Like I was a knucklehead.
Yeah.
I was more of a kid that just wanted to be cool, and I was willing to do things that other kids weren't. And so it kind of put me in bad situations. But again, we were playing cards, and the Ultimate Fighter came on, and I was like, man, I like to fight. Like, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And I remember the guys on the table, they're like, fool, play your hand, right? They're just like, play your hand. And
Everybody does that. Man, come on with that.
yeah, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it, and I don't know what happened. That was it. I was locked in, started doing burpees every day. And
Yeah.
I mean, I had to do burpees every day anyways, but I started doing more, started thinking about fighting. And then when I got out, Googled MMA, and the first gym that popped up was Elite Training Center in Redondo Beach. And then I signed up, and that was it.
And so then how did you get, okay, so it started to prosper from there. And then how did you get, because where you're at now, where Black House is, because when I saw your fight, I saw Kenny Johnson, who that boat wrestling, for the people listening to me here on this podcast, and I've told Mike and I've told Jessica too, that boat wrestling gets you to the promised land. I coached at Milliken High for 6 years, and that boat wrestling, I put that, implemented that in there, and it really made a big difference. So how did it come full circle to where you got over there?
It's
The question I'm trying to ask is like, if do they notice you and go, dude, you got something here? Or do you say, hey man, I need to up my training. Let me start going to another level?
So, I mean, it's cool that you brought up how Black House was private,
Right,
invite only,
right.
in back of Sinister.
Right.
Right. I never saw that part, but I read about it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I was obsessed when I got out, right? So I would go to Ralph's, and like whenever like we were shopping for grocery, I'd go to the magazine
Yeah.
section. They had Fighters Only, Black Belt Magazine, all these cool magazines, right? And I was just so obsessed that I was just looking in the back, trying to read techniques, see what's up, like I was just obsessed with it. And I remember reading in the back, right? Anderson Silva was my favorite fighter at the time.
Yeah.
I was reading, Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, all these guys training at Black House, secret gym in Torrance. It wasn't in Torrance, right? But it said secret gym in Torrance. And I was like,
I think they said Torrance because that's where the big Gracie Academy was, and that made everybody think that it's got to be over there. You know, that's like because you know how Albuquerque, like New Mexico, everybody thinks, oh man, that's where all the big fighters go, or whatever. But go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but that's what I'm thinking. Because everybody, you know, you say Gracie and they go, the one in Torrance? You know, right away, because that's the main academy. But go ahead.
So just the fact that it was South Bay, like it was, because that's where I was living. I was living in Torrance. Right. It was in Torrance. It was a secret location. My favorite fighter trained there. I want to go there.
Yeah,
that's my goal, right? Like I put that in my mind. I want to be a Black House fighter one day. Some of the guys at Elite Training Center were fighters. Tommy Aaron, Christos Giagos, who made it to the UFC. Travis Williams, those guys actually had the invite to Black House, because at this point it wasn't Sinister anymore. At this point it was the big warehouse Black House. Like,
right.
So and I would hear them getting invited, but I was just a scrub at the time, you know. I was able to pay for my first and last month of the gym.
But were you getting fights at this time?
No,
because I was gonna say around then there wasn't as many smaller organizations. It was just like King of the Cage.
Yeah, Camel was around.
Uh-huh.
Camel was around, so I was around like it was around because the guys on the fight team would fight for Camel.
Okay,
right, and that's why they would get extra training at Black House.
Okay,
but no, I was just like I said, I was only able to pay first and last month, and then eventually, because I was there all day, they gave me an opportunity to clean the gym to pay for my tuition. So I was really there all day,
right.
You know. So I made it to the fight team, but that's about it, right? I was still kind of like a scrub, just watching these guys, you know, hearing the stories that they talk about at Black House.
Yeah.
Eventually, I left that gym, ended up going to Systems Training Center, where I met Pedro Munoz, who was one of Black House's main fighters, and he was at 135, and he needed some training partners because he was beating up everybody on Spar Day, and he was asking for someone else. I think it was my first day sparring, ever at that gym. And I was like, I'm your way, I'll go. He beat me up, but I kept coming, you know? And he was like, yo, I like this kid. And then he invited me to Black House. So that's how I got to Black House. Was to be Pedro Munoz's training partner. Yeah.
Pedro Munoz, the badass dude.
Right.
I'm telling you. And it's funny because we had him on one of the other podcasts that I was doing. And we were talking because he was really starting to get up there, but he got poked in the eye. And then we were talking about that, and he said, you know, regardless of what you say, even if it's just a slight poke, it changes the whole game. You know what I mean? He goes, because I had to really, my defense was different and all that. But anyways, going there and then starting to train at Black House, which is, you know, that's top of the food chain, especially up there. So it progressed from there into amateur fights
No, well, once I got to Systems Training Center, that's when I started my first year of amateur.
Yeah.
So from start, about a year and a half after I started training, got out of jail, I started amateur. I did about 9 months of camo.
Okay.
And then I went pro.
Okay.
So around my last fight, I fought for the state championship. That was my goal as camo. I wanted to do 1 year of amateur. I wanted to go out as the state champ and then go pro. I actually I had 4 fights, and then my 5th fight was I fought for the state championship. I lost a decision, which I lost a decision, but luckily Tony Padilla was there. He saw. I mean, I was his champ too. I won a Spar Star belt within those 5 fights.
Right.
He saw my fight and he was like, "Yo, don't trip. I'm gonna get you a fight at Bellator." So I made my professional debut.
That's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's a big, you know, to another level.
Yeah.
I think they see, you know, when they see it, and they say, man, if we put this guy against this guy, that's gonna be a good fight. That's gonna be.
Is that when Bellator just started?
No, they were cracking.
Yeah?
Yeah. They were. It was pretty good. I was on, and it was cool because I was on a card with Daniel Strauss versus Pitbull. That was the main event.
Pitbull.
Yeah, it was around that time. So it was kind of like after those little. Remember they had the tournaments.
Yeah.
And then they kind of took them away for a little bit. So it was in that period where they kind of took it away. So yeah, I was just on the undercard.
Man, that's a big deal, but it's good though. But real quick for the people, we're here. We're at, of course, I'm not gonna say podcast place in Long Beach. Got my man Michael Parks over here. We have Jessica sitting. We're gonna talk a little bit to her too about since she's been working for Camo and how that's progressed. But we're talking to Albert Morales. Talk a little bit about coming up in the ranks and getting to Bellator. But go ahead, Mike.
Did you wrestle?
No.
Where'd you get the cauliflower ears, man?
Training.
That's from training at Black House with Kenny Johnson and
I actually got them really
the grind.
I got them like 6 months into training.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was, like I said, I was there morning classes, and then once I think the last class ended at 12, and then there was a break till 4 o'clock. That break, I was cleaning the gym, but I was there from morning classes, clean the gym, evening classes,
so
all day.
You were a sponge. You were just around, so you saw everything.
Yeah, but
that's nice.
Real quick, I want to talk a little bit more about that because that daily grind, that's what gets you to the promised land. But Jessica, any questions for him before we get going?
Well, I didn't want to jump too fast, but I know too. I don't know if you guys read. I passed out study guides to everybody because I
She did.
Yeah, I did. I knew like facts about Albert, or like so I did. But you can like clarify everything. But if you were gonna talk about the Dana White contender, are you good? Did you guys know that?
Did you get in that contender series?
Not the contender. It's called the Dana White's
Looking for a fight.
Yeah, and that was at RFA.
Okay.
So.
And was it a 7-second knockout?
It would no. I think it was. It might have been. I don't know why. I think it's 15-second. I think so.
Well, because Resurrection Fighting Alliance was Ed Soares, and then they merged into Legacy Fighting Alliance, which is a feeder system for UFC. So we started fighting for RFA, and then take it from there. So did Dana White come and take a look at you, or?
So Dana White was there filming his show. He was actually there to see my opponent. Yeah, because my opponent was 10-1. The only fight he lost was like super controversial in Brazil for jungle fights. And jungle fights is like, it's like the LFA but in Brazil. Yeah. So now the LFA is the LFA from Brazil. But at that time that was like Jose Aldo, a lot of greats came out of the jungle fights.
Yeah.
So he was it was a 2-week notice fight. I had a fight lined up against a guy named Benito Lopez for a title. It would have been my first professional title, but he had to pull out. And so didn't have a fight. And then they offered me this opportunity to fight at LFA. And they're like, yo, Dana White's going to be there. And I didn't think anything of it.
I was going to say to change it up and oh shit, or just like, man, I'm focused. I got to get this win.
I just wanted to knock that fool out. Yeah. You know, that was the biggest thing is I just want to win. Dana White actually missed my fight. Oh. Yeah. I remember I get the knockout, and he was my opponent was the guy that a lot of people were scared of.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody thought I was going to lose, but I didn't, I was focused. I was confident. I was young. I was almost fearless. It was weird. Just to think about the confidence I had back then. But I went out there and I knocked him out in 7 to 15 seconds. I don't remember exactly what it was, but afterwards, Coach Kenny comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, you're gonna be pissed." I was like, "What happened?" He's like, Dana just walked in.
Oh,
just walked in
on the late freight.
Yeah,
dude, he's famous for that. Yeah. He's famous for that.
So I was like, oh, all right, at this point I'm 5-0. I just got 5-0. So honestly, I'm not thinking Dana's gonna sign me right now. I'm still young, and on top of that, 2 of my friends were on the card. Both of them got knockouts as well, and then the card was stacked with just a bunch of local prospects. It was that are probably more deserving of that shot, right? Because at that point I was only a pro for 2 years or a year and a half.
Yeah, but Dana, especially because he has a working relationship with Ed Soares, if he sees you fight, win or lose, if you put on a good fight, he's gonna want to put you in there. Now, is this when Silva was the matchmaker for UFC back then? No, now it switched to McMaynard and them, but because when I was working for Tap Out, we had a good working relationship with Silva, the matchmaker for the UFC, and it seemed like if you can impress him, he'll tell the, "Hey man, if you put this guy against this guy, it's gonna be magic."
No, well, yeah, I think he might have been there.
Yeah.
But Sean Shelby has always been in charge of us lighter guys.
Okay.
So, or at least since I went there, so he was at my
he
fight
still
too.
is, yeah.
So Sean Shelby was with Dana when they selected me. But like I said, I didn't. He wasn't there. And then Coach Kenny was like, "Yo, go say what's up to him."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, I'll go say what's up to him." He's like, "Just say hi, right?" And I went over there. And I saw a bunch of people crowding in him. I'm like, "I'm all right," you know.
Yeah.
And so I just go back. My friends end up knocking out their opponents, right? And then afterwards, Coach Kenny's like, "Did you say what's up to him?" And I'm like, "Nah."
Yeah, because that's the way he is.
Yeah.
Kenny's like that. Hey, what's up, man? He'll go up to anybody. You know, that's his personality. So I mean, were you bummed after that, or
No, I
didn't
mean,
matter because you did well?
no. Well, Kenny convinced me. He was like, if you don't go say hi to him, I'm gonna slap the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Right? And you got to tell him you just got a 15-second knockout. Go say
Yeah.
what's up, right? So I was like, all right, whatever. So I go outside. Luckily, someone got hit in the nuts, right? So the crowd's kind of chill.
Yeah.
And I see Dana. He's by himself. He's like by himself, just chilling. So I'm all right, that's the sign, right? So I go up to him. Hey, what's up, Dana? You didn't see me fight, but I fought tonight. He's like, oh, dope. How'd you do? I was like, I got a 15-second knockout. He's like, oh, I heard about that. I heard about it. I was like, yeah, man. Whether you sign me today or sign me tomorrow or eventually
happening.
I'm going to be your employee.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to meet you. And he was like, all right, right. And then Matt Serra was right there. Matt Serra was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, yeah. I was hyped, man. And it was cool because Matt Serra's a legend too.
Oh, yeah.
So like it was really cool. And then later on that evening, they called me to the locker room. They're like, Albert Morales, come to the locker room. And I thought I lost my check or something. Right. So I go to the locker room and they're like, yo, Dana wants to see you. Yeah. And then that's when everything happened.
Yeah. And then we'll did you go ahead, Mike? You want any
No,
questions?
because I was looking at Solomon. He was back there going, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story, man.
Well, that's good. Solomon could be content, right? But since we're talking wrestling and we're talking jiu-jitsu, you know, since Solomon was able to redeem himself from the last show, maybe we can get Albert, or maybe even here too, to put a little
Albert,
on him, just so he can feel
You see how they do me, Albert? You see how they do me? They're trying to get me killed.
He can
go.
feel the pressure of the rear naked. You know what I mean?
go.
Just so he can feel how it is. But any more before we continue?
No,
on?
you can continue with the story. That one I wanted to hear, and I knew that on the other podcast.
Yeah. And then, okay, so what led you all up to Up Next Fighting? Because, you know, here's the thing. We worked Up Next Fighting, I can't remember how
We did
long.
2 shows. We did April 20th, then another one.
Was that the one where we were walking the fighters at 1 o'clock in the morning to the cage?
No, that was Epic Fighting in San Diego.
Okay, we're working, Epic Fighting out in San Diego. And there was a ton of fights. There was maybe close to 20?
That show, have you ever worked for Epic?
No,
Okay.
but I know of them.
It's just wild because, yeah, it's outdoor, it's in a ballroom, and then there's girls that aren't maintained very well,
Right.
and they're dancing on poles to Lose Yourself by Eminem
Right.
from 8 Mile.
In between
It's
the
all the
fights.
things that you just can't wrap your head around.
But
Yeah.
there was 20 fights, I think, close to 20 fights.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when somebody gets knocked out and the paramedics have to take them to the hospital, you have to wait till either another one. So there was a 45-minute break in between. And people are just getting hammered, you know, drinking and drinking. So then, we finally continue on. And I have my main event fighter stage. I look at my watch and it was like 10 minutes to 1 in the morning. And I'm thinking, so I look at him, I go, hey man, I go, did you ever think you'd be going into the cage at 1 o'clock in the morning? He goes, no, man. He goes, I didn't know. So Brooke, that's what I wanted to ask you. Has that ever happened to you? Or is there a point where you go, dude, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, we're going to get this. Would it change anything? Or
Do you even want to fight at 1
that's what I'm
o'clock in the
thinking.
morning?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Or you just,
For sure I'm gonna
your
wanna fight
adrenaline
at
is so
that
whatever.
point.
You don't care what's going on. You're just ready to go.
Well, look, I mean, I guess I've been doing it for a minute now. I take a nap before my fight,
Yeah.
so I'll feel rested. And there's like a time where we pick it up. I actually rather have, I don't know, I'd rather have more time than less time.
Yeah.
Right, because less time you got to go, you don't get to warm up, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I guess I'm just used to being. I've been the main event for a while now, so like I'm towards the end of the card. So I'm kind of getting used to it, or I'm used to it. It did happen, my first title fight at Sparstar, but I thought they would cut it off because that was the big rush. That there was a time where the ambulance had to leave,
Right.
So the fight would have got canceled if it went past this time. So they rushed us. They didn't even put our fight music or anything. We just went straight to the cage. And
see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what the people don't see. They just see the finished product.
Yeah.
Did that change your mindset at all? But you're so focused as let's just do it.
that was a crazy fight. No, I was focused.
Yeah.
That was a fight where my friend had he had the reason why I was fighting this guy was because I saw him beat my teammate. And so I was like, I could beat that guy. And his crowd was super disrespectful. So I was like, I could beat that guy, right? So I asked my coach afterwards because my coach called and he's like, hey, man, because I cornered my friend. He said, how'd he do? He's like, I think he could have won. But that guy's crowd was super disrespectful, man. Like, I want to fight that guy. He's like, bro, you only have one fight. That guy's, he's like, but they're looking for someone to fight him. He's
right.
Because he was like 4-0. That was a title fight. And then Sparstar was looking for him to have a match. And I was like, sign me up. He's like, I don't think they're going to let you. You only have one fight.
Yeah.
But why not? They gave me the shot, right? Literally the week of that fight, my friend D, who the guy who fought him, gets hit by a car and dies. Yeah. So the week after he fought him, he dies. Or not a week, but like shortly after.
Yeah.
Because I probably had like 3 weeks to train for that or 2 weeks to train for that. But the week of my fight, he passes away. I remember my friend calling me and telling me, he's like, hey, bro, like, you're not going to, it sounds like a movie, right? But he got hit by a car and he's gone. And it messed me up, right? But I was just, it was like the first time I felt something like that.
Before a fight,
Yeah. I mean, it was only my second fight.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, that whole situation was pretty crazy. So I was just locked in. And like I said, that guy was a beast. He was a killer. He was like a Taekwondo national champion and he was killing it in MMA.
Yeah.
So I was there to lose and I ended up winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was like, I mean, I've had a bunch of little crazy situations through this career.
We'll talk about that though. I mean, because you kind of it's in your head, but I mean, once you're there, once you put your gear on, once you get your hand wraps and all, it seems like and then you start warming up. It kind of I don't want to say puts that in the back of your mind, but then you just really start to get focused, and then it takes off from there.
Yeah,
Is that how it was for you? Or you still were kind of like, oh, bro, this is going on, and
because I wanted to ask, when you got in the cage with him and you guys stood across from each other, when you were getting your, when the referee was telling you guys what, at the beginning of the fight, in your head, are you looking at him and thinking about your boy, like, and the rage, just like, dude, I'm gonna kill you. You just don't know him, but
I'm just too focused on the fight itself.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to think about what I was thinking back then.
Yeah.
I could tell you what I think now, but back then, I don't think I was focused on my friend. I think I knew I had to take that out of there.
Yeah, because once you step in that cage, you have to be. We talked about that too, but we talked about that. We talk about that a lot. Regardless of what you say, or what people think or whatever, since I've been doing it for such a long time, and now that Jessica's with me, I have more respect for anybody that steps in that cage, because it's just you, the opponent, and the referee, and that cage door shuts. So you have to have guts to get in that cage and do it. So I have respect for anybody that gets in that cage. But real quick, I want to continue. I want to talk about your big fight that you had defending your belt. But I'm gonna give a quick story of Black House. We just came over from Tap Out, and we'd been working for Ed for about maybe about 6 weeks or so. And he says, hey, man, can you guys come down to the warehouse? I want to talk a little bit about, they were getting a deal with Kmart and they wanted to put the Sinister brand in Kmart and stuff like that. So we were talking and he goes, oh, yeah, Lyoto has a fight coming up. He's going to come down and train, whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we're talking and he goes, oh, here they come. So it was a little black Honda, those little, not the CRX, but the one that's the one that's the 4-door or whatever. So anyways, they pull up. Lyoto's driving. His brother's sitting in the passenger seat. His dad is behind him, and his uncle is sitting in the back passenger seat. And he goes, he goes, yeah, the whole family's here, whatever. So, okay. So they get out. Lyoto gets out. His brother gets out. Dad gets out. He's got a blue gi, and it looked like it's about 100 years old. I mean, it was just, it's been washed about 1,000 times. And then he had his black belt. I mean, it gets out. And then he had those hard chanclas, the wooden ones, or whatever. And I'm like, are they doing a photo shoot? Or is he, nah, man, that's how he's like that 24/7. So, okay, so he comes in, introduces me, and I don't know why I was talking to him in Spanish. I don't know why I think everybody speaks Spanish. And he's just looking at me and he's bowing. And then he tells him something in Portuguese to the dad. And the dad opens his gi, and he was like stocky, like garrote, like that. But his abs, he had like an 8-pack. And I looked at him, I was like, well, and he was probably in his early 70s, maybe I want to say. And I'm like, dang. And then he says something to the uncle. The uncle, same thing. I mean, they were just ripped. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, put my hand out to shake his hand or whatever. And they said something when they walked up. And he goes, that's every day. He goes, that's why Laoto's such a badass. He goes, when it's his fight, they come, they prepare all his food. He goes, they don't train on the mats, they train on the hardwood floors, or whatever. He goes, that's why he is the way he is. And I was just, I'll never forget that. I was so impressed that his dad was that old and still looked like that and still had the tradition or whatever. So anyways, that was cool and everything like that. But then real quick, they have a new studio over there in, we work like right on the street over from it. I want to say, is it Cabrillo or whatever, or Arlington, where Lauro Machido's new thing is? Have you been
Arlington.
there?
No, I've never been there.
Dude,
but
it is spotless. I have never seen a dojo that is so clean. I mean, it was amazing. And I walked in there and I said, hey, I'm working for On the Mat now. And Alan Goes was coming to do a seminar. And I said, we'd like to get him on air. We'll put, give you the publicity and everything for it. It's okay, cool. So she says something to Lauro. He looks at me, says something there. She goes, nah, he don't want to do nothing with you, man. I said, okay. And I left. I didn't want to, I was intimidated just seeing him and his brother, because, his brother, I think he killed somebody or something in one of his fights. And
Chinzo?
Yeah. So they were just so intimidated, but I didn't want to go, you don't remember me from when your dad came? Whatever. So I just left. But anyway, I just had to tell that story because I was so impressed with them when they came. But anyways, want to talk about your fight. Okay. I want to talk about the fight you had, because we watched it before we came. But before we get into that, we had Rage in here the last episode, and we're talking about professionalism within MMA. And this is what Mike and I and Jessica talk about a lot too. That's why, okay, we get a lot of slack for Camel. Oh, they don't know what they're doing, or they stopped this fight too soon, and this guy doesn't. We get a lot of slack from that. But Jessica and I were recruited because I've been working MMA for almost 25 years now.
Well, yeah, Favi has a lot of MMA knowledge. Yeah.
And then we both work in the medical industry. So they recruited us. They said, well, not only that, but we want people who have a medical background, for concussion protocol. We want to make sure that the fighter stays safe. We want to make sure you know what you're looking for. So that's why they recruited us into that. And we're doing that now. So here's the thing. I'm talking about professionalism because when I was working for Tap Out, they were we still had the reputation in mixed martial arts for being like these animals, and it's human pit bull fighting and all that stuff. And then once I started working for King of the Cage with Terry Trebilcock, who's the owner. Okay, we used to be able to do the announcing with the black mock turtleneck or whatever with the blazer and stuff like that. So when Dana approached him and said, look, a lot of the fighters, Ronda, Rampage Jackson, a lot of the old footage is from King of the Cage. So they ended up signing a contract with King of the Cage so that they could use their old fight films and stuff like that. And we had a working relationship with them. We had a big meeting. And he's like, bro, no more mock. I want everybody in a coat and tie. I want all my commentators in a coat and tie. I want everybody to be real professional, because we already have this stigma that we're animals and that we're unprofessional or whatever. And it's just a mayhem. So I want everybody to be professional. And when he said that, I said, man, see, this is a guy who and I tell Mike all the time, I liken it to football. In football, you see everybody's nice, coat and tie, haircut, everything's nice and trim. That's what I want for MMA. You know what I mean? So that's why I've been doing. I got to do Lights Out for announcing over there, and the same thing. I approached Sean Marion, and he's like, "Yeah, but we want everybody coat and tie. We want this and that." So it's making a rise, to be a little bit more professional. So do you find that? I mean, because that's my thing. I want to make sure people. Because we see what goes on behind the scenes. So you kind of feel that way too? Hey, man, I want people to take me serious. I want it to be more professional. Or is it just like, man, this is what it is and this is what we do?
No, they're it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think for sure us being professional athletes is important. We have to conduct ourselves like that,
Yeah.
right? And even looking, that's why the UFC is the UFC. Like at first, the UFC got backlash because of the uniforms,
Exactly.
but it makes us all look clean.
Right.
Makes us all look professional. It makes us look like it's a sport. And then now they have the cool like alternatives for like the champions and superstars. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, like as far as like behind the scenes for sure, you know what I mean? But I enjoy being able to express myself through what I wear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even at weigh-ins, I buy a specific outfit for my weigh-ins.
Right.
Buy a specific outfit for my walk-in to the arena the day of the fight. You know, I say, well, my uncle always raised me look good, feel good, perform good.
Right.
I do the same thing, look good, feel good, fight good. So everything goes into it.
And then it seems like people take you more seriously. Hey man, this dude's a professional. He came to fight.
Yeah.
You know, little things like, you know, you're lined up and everything and you just look professional.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Albert, the braids will never come back.
No, they will. They will. They just get to my nerves a little bit. I really want dreads, but I'm gonna have to wait for after I retire.
Yeah, that's
for
what,
dreads.
dude.
But I do want dreads. I do want them.
We're on the same. We're on the same level. At work, you know, they're like, "Hey, you're getting close to 60. You're gonna retire pretty soon." And I'm like, "Yeah." They said, well, what are you gonna do? Move to Memphis because you know Tennessee, you can get property up cheap. I said, "Nah, man. So I'm gonna let my dreadlocks grow out. I'm gonna let my beard grow out. I'm gonna move to Venice Beach." And I'm gonna live out there, and I'm gonna go to Gold's Gym every day. If my wife and daughter want to come with me, they're more than welcome. If not, I'm going on my own. But go ahead. So, well, you know, it's funny that you say that because remember I got in trouble, not in trouble, but when the girls when they braid their hair, one of them had a clip or something, and I didn't. She had a black hair, and it was a metal clip.
Ooh.
And when it got past me, and it got past the referee that inspects you before you go in the cage, Beltron caught it.
Ooh.
And he goes, dude, that metal, if she shoots in and goes for it and it catches her, it's going to cut her wide open. And, you know, I think it was maybe my third fight or whatever. And I go, that wasn't me. I think it was, you know what I mean? And they go, no, it was you. And they go, you're not in trouble, but you know, so little things like that you have to take into consideration, you know, because we got to keep that fighter safe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Sorry about that, Mike. Go ahead. Any questions before we get going here?
Yeah. I want to
go like this.
What the fuck?
Go ahead.
We were talking with Rage in the last week. Favi brought it up, and now that we have actually have a fighter in here, Favi says at the end of fights, if a guy has been knocked out and concussed, why have him stand up and stand there with the guy that beat him while he got his hand raised? Why should he Why should he have to do that?
Yeah, if it's a decision, we get it. They both
yeah.
got to come. But I mean, I've seen people get knocked out and they're face down, you know, or they're all beat up. Okay, you won by knockout or TKO. So I don't think they have to try to pick him up and bring him over to raise the other guy's hand. I think, okay, leave him there. Go ahead and bring the guy who won, announce it, bam, and he's good.
What do you think as a fighter?
Nah, I want him next to me.
Now, why? Why?
Just to show this is what I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I won. You know, I won. And honestly, I think it's out of that guy too because we're both fighters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to stand up when you win. You want to stand up when you lose. You always have to go in with pride.
Yeah, live to fight another
day.
Yeah,
it's okay. It doesn't matter. Like you said, every fighter that goes in, there's a beast.
Yeah.
So take your L like a man and move on. And I think that's what most fighters do. The fighters that really get hurt, then yeah, they got to wheel them out. You know. But you know, I think losses made me grow so much more than wins.
Right.
You know, and just to feel all of that, it's part of the game, and it's gonna either make you or break you.
Yeah.
Right. And if it breaks you, it's okay. You're not meant for this. But if you're willing to go again, then you are meant for it.
Well, let me go ahead.
Solomon, you over there shaking your head. What?
Yeah, that's what I said last week.
Yeah.
There's a tradition.
Oh, that's what redeemed him.
Yeah.
There's a
That's what
tradition.
redeemed
There's
him.
an honor to that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Of being able to stand up there and, you know, you should be able to show victor over your opponent. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, especially because, you know, you trained and you got ready for it, and then this is the finished product.
Right.
Or whatever. See, Man, that Solomon keeps getting out of it, man. He keeps redeeming himself. Oh, sorry. Anyways, real quick for the people here, we're here at the podcast place at the beautiful city of Long Beach. Got Michael Parks sitting here on my left. I got Jessica over here, and of course, the man himself to my right. Any more questions before we continue on? And I, because everybody goes, God, you talk too much, man. But I get so excited when we have a fighter on here, only because, like he said, we got it from him. I was like, they shouldn't bring him up. And then when he says that, I'm like, yeah, man, you put in the time. You should be able to, hey, this is, I won by knockout.
Yeah, well, you know what? I do have a question for you.
Well, I thought it was Jessica's turn, but go ahead.
No, go for it, Mike.
She said she didn't have any questions.
Oh, you don't?
I don't.
All them papers and everything that you
Well, all my notes were written in there, and he's covered all of them. That was correct. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I like won championship fights. There's something
The one
about
in Japan.
Yeah, there's something about that I'm like, dude, that because I think they're a little bit more brutal. Would you go
To one? Yes, because they actually, it's a career for sure. They're gonna pay you. The issue is like getting fights there.
What's the difference?
I don't know. I don't know what's the difference.
Do
Maybe
they have somebody that comes down to scout fighters over here?
They have some of them. I have a friend, Gilbert Nakatani, who's fought there a couple of times. And they actually have a card here once a year. I'm not sure where they're gonna have it this year, but usually they come like once a year, once or twice a year. That's the biggest issue, right? I mean, I have a personal vendetta. I don't know. I want to get back to the UFC, and I want to show you what I was supposed to show you. What I'm saying is, like, Dana didn't pick the wrong person. It was just the wrong time.
Yeah.
At that
Stars weren't aligned at that.
I mean, I was only training three years, now I've been training 13 years. I'm ready, and I'm not going there just to get to the UFC. I want to bring the belt to LA.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to bring the belt to LA. So that's why I wouldn't go to one. But I think they fight with more honor over there, And honestly, I don't think they drug test as much.
Yeah.
But like, as far as like the fighters, man, those guys are like, they're warriors. They just go in there from the jump and they're fighting hard.
They don't mess around up there.
All fight long.
And it seems like there's smaller weights down there too, right? I haven't seen too many.
They got
heavyweights
They got
too.
some
Oh, they
heavies.
do?
Oh,
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
'cause most of the times I've seen them
They
in
got some heavies
lower weights.
that they bring it.
Good ones too.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
No, it's like they got everybody that's like could be in the UFC and like is at one,
Yeah.
right? Like, they're beasts, man. They're and then all the Muay Thai guys, all the kickboxing guys, like they have everything else on lock for sure.
Would you like to do that? Go out to Thailand and train Muay Thai out there?
Yeah.
It's funny because I was watching The Ultimate Fighter with Joanna Jędrzejczyk or whatever, and they were training, and she's like, "What are you guys doing?" She goes, "This is an opportunity for you, to get to the big." She goes, "When I was little, my parents owned a store, and they were always to me, go do your homework, and you better." And she goes, "No, I want to work." She goes, "I want to work in the store. I want to put money away because I want to go to Thailand. I want to train Muay Thai out there." She goes, "So I worked every day after school to save money to go to Thailand to train my Muay Thai." She goes, "You guys are in this nice big house," and she goes, "You need to take advantage of it." And I thought that's why she was what she was, because that was, she was so focused. But real quick, since we're running up against the clock, talk about your fight. I was watching it, and it's funny how we were talking about professionalism and all that. And you go, I didn't just go out there. Let me break it down for you. I didn't just go out there and go wild. I had a specific game plan, and when I saw what he was giving me, I went for it. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, it went so fast, but you talked about, you planted that foot to the right, and then boom, and then it was over.
Is it something that you saw? Did you watch film on it?
Right then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there something that you saw in front of you that you remembered from film and like, oh, dude, you're doing exactly what I wanted you to do?
No, it wasn't. We watched a lot of film. My coach is nuts. Juan Gomez.
Yeah.
Juan Gomez, the Brazilian samurai, he's nuts. Sometimes he jokes with us and says, "I want you guys to win more than you do." And I laugh, but I think it's true. The amount of hours he puts into studying my opponent, and it's me and my friend Bully. He's like my brother, Anthony Romero. He fought that same night too. We're called the Samurai Squad. It's my coach, Anthony Romero, myself. Super tight, talk every day. that guy's nuts. Samurai, he's insane. He comes up with the perfect game plan. We worked the exact. I mean, I the funny thing is, I wasn't able to use the moves that we worked because I was able to implement one of the techniques we did to find that opening.
Right.
Right. It wasn't what he did. It was what I did that created the opening. And the thing is, those specific combos, those specific drills that we do, we spar 3 times a week. People say we're crazy, but our fighting is dialed in because we're always training.
Right.
We're training to fight at all times. And that specific combo or that specific move, that sidestep, I hit a bunch of my training partners and rocked them. Obviously, I'm not mean or malicious, so I'm not gonna go piece up my partner. From there, I start punching their body.
Right.
But I saw his eyes roll to the back of his head and he fell. Like I saw that, so I knew as soon as I landed it, I was like, oh, that's it. I saw him curl up, and then I hit him with an overhand, and from there it was what Coach James, one of my coaches, he called 3 o'clock after school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, 3 o'clock after school.
Just went boom.
Boom. Right. So it was precision, it was game plan, and then at one point 3 o'clock after school.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel robbed because the referee stopped it early because I wanted a big finish. You know, I want to give Dana White a stamp.
Right.
I'm on a 6-fight win streak. I have 5 finishes. And I feel like I could have got an exclamation mark at the end of that, but you know, God works the way He wants to work. You know, we both got to make it home. I'm healthy. I think he's healthy. And
well, when you hit him with the uppercut, to me, that's what, because you hit him, boom, and his head went up like that. So I think Trigg saw that and so didn't want him to go face first.
And
then you were coming with the left after that. So it was like the uppercut, and then and then he just started going down.
As he was going down, I also hit him with like a hammer fist to the back of the head. But it was instincts.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I just saw open shots and that was it. Like, it's funny because I didn't know I hit him with an uppercut. Like, afterwards, my coach was like, man, when you hit him with the uppercut, I was like, I didn't even, until I saw the fight afterwards.
Yeah.
And I saw, but I do remember the angle, and I do remember seeing the opportunity for the overhand. But then after that, like I said, 3 o'clock after school.
Yeah, he was on the way down.
Yeah.
Could you have gotten suspended or not suspended? Could you have gotten disqualified for that?
I don't think so
Back
because
of the
it's
head?
in,
He wasn't
it's in the
aiming
moment.
for the back of the
Yeah.
head.
Okay.
He
I was just firing and he was moving. So it's like that kind of stuff. And I think I hit him and he was kind of coming back up, but it was just going to get worse.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I might have not finished him in that exchange, but that, like, the reason why I threw my jab was because we were going to start attacking the game plan. And after that, I don't know how that would have worked out for him because I was, yeah. But,
So when that happens, I mean, no damage. I mean, you know, you look. I went like this, and it was like, you know, the trees when you go like that to a tree. That's what it was like when I hit him in his stomach downstairs. So do you go, hey man, I'm feeling good. Let's start working for another fight or well, especially now. But see, about how much? Okay, you're fighting at 145. How much weight do you stay within? Because people are getting called with 2, sometimes even 1 day notice. And some of them are even for title fights or whatever. So do you just keep building on that? Or do you go to your manager and say, look, man, I didn't take no punishment. Let's start working on another one. Or how does that work?
so there's a bunch of things in that, right? First, I manage myself
Okay.
at this point. I've been managing myself for, since I got out the UFC. I've been doing it by myself and doing pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with Up Next specifically, but even like other promotions, and I've gotten the most bang for my buck. You know, I'm at a point right now where I'm making pretty good money
Yeah.
outside the UFC, which is pretty cool. You know, but I'm not satisfied. I think I do need a manager because I do need someone to rub elbows with Sean Shelby, Dana, someone like that, because I'm ready.
Right.
So that was that answer. What was the other?
So do you go and call Up Next? Go, look, man, you got another fight for me? Or
Yeah. I'm locked in. I'm gonna be the 35 champ, the bantamweight champ. I'm fighting at 145 because my buddy Bully, Anthony Romero, my little brother, he was the bantamweight champion for Up Next.
Okay.
I'm the featherweight champion for Up Next. So that's why I couldn't fight at 135
Okay.
or in this organization. I could go out somewhere else and fight for 135, but Up Next is the best.
I weighed 135 when I was 8.
Yeah,
Maybe what about yourself?
yeah, about that.
Dude, I couldn't even fathom getting down that low. But now, nowadays you need to stay within your weight or whatever, because especially you, man, they call you up. Hey, bro, we got to fight right here. We're ready to roll.
Exactly, and that's what I'm waiting for. That's why I'm walking around 155.
Yeah.
It's the week after the fight. I had right before I had a Chick-fil-A milkshake,
Yeah.
right? So I'm enjoying this week. I'm enjoying this week.
Plus, dude, he lives in the South Bay. Lomita, towards burritos de carnitas everywhere, and La Esperanza's right there on Sepulveda. We'll have to take you over there.
He got to be
before-
like sugar free.
Yeah,
If
no
you
doubt.
Stay ready. You
No
ain't got
doubt.
to get ready. So
Always, exactly.
Real quick, because since we're starting to wind down, getting run up against the clock, the last two fights that UFC had, the last two fights, Henry Cejudo was one, and the other guy, they both ended in eye pokes, and the last one, he told him, hey, I got, but no, you keep fighting. And then when they showed the replay, which the referee can't see till after the fight, not only did he poke him, he raked him. Like he just, I guess it's your instinct to go like this, but he did get him. So the last two main events for UFC ended in eye poke. So this is what they tell us. We go to all the fighter meetings, as inspectors, and they say you can have your hands like this, but once you extend them, then that's no good. So do you think, because to me, is it different for you? Because why wouldn't you just have your hands like this? Because you're going to throw punches anywhere. Is this for defense or whatever? Because I don't understand why you would need your hands out like this anyways.
Just because you don't want to be tense the whole time.
Keep it loose.
Right? Yeah, you kind of relax. I do have I frame.
Yeah.
Kinda, but I try to keep my fingers up as much.
Right. So you're not doing this.
Yeah. Or I'll just close my fist.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not squeezing it. But that's the reason why people don't want to just.
Yeah. Just keep on.
Yeah. Because then you're just blowing out your arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
because those eye pokes, I mean,
they're devastating.
you can either you can scratch your eye, or
Yeah. We were talking about Pedro Munoz.
you can detach your retina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Well,
that's a career killer.
That's what Jessica and I do. We 80% cataract surgery, but we know we have a retina doctor, and we see a lot of detached retinas and stuff. And those, man, we see those operations, and to open that eye and get in there, it's a lot, and you're risking losing your eyesight. You know what I mean? So that's why we're trying to. They're making a concerted effort to try to, stop the eye pokes or whatever. But like he says, you got to keep your hands loose, and I guess your natural instinct, or whatever. So, I mean, do you think there's any way we could stop? I mean, okay, they give you a warning and then they take away a point. Now you're down a point, and you got to really work that much harder to get there. So, what do you think?
I heard Cejudo on his podcast. He said maybe just from the top deduct a point.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. But the thing is, it sucks.
I mean, will it make you more aware of it, or you just? I mean,
No,
it's
it's
going to keep going.
I feel like most of the time it's not on accident. I feel like majority of the time it's on accident.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I don't think anybody's intentionally, unless you're John Jones.
John Jones, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. That dude.
I love John Jones. He's
Yeah.
great. But yeah, no, I think he. I mean, I don't know. John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time. And not MMA fighter, right? Because I think if you put him in the cage with anybody, he's probably gonna win. But he fights dirty.
Yeah.
You see the oblique kick where he's pushing your knee in. He's not trying to win the fight. I mean, win the MMA match. He's trying to dismantle you.
Yeah.
So you don't compete again almost. If
So you
it's
remember that.
yeah. You see even rematches, after he beats him the first time, they're never the same. No fighter's ever the same after he beats you.
Yeah. Well, let me tell a quick story. I was working for King of the Cage. We were in Albuquerque, and Fit NHB was putting the fights on, and they brought some fighters over from the what's it called, the big gym that's out there with Jackson Wink.
Oh, Jackson Wink.
So Diego was there, John Jones is there, everybody from there, and they're in the third row. So I have to make a big announcement. No videotaping, no cameras, no nothing. We don't. If not, we're going to ask you to leave. Blah blah blah. Whatever, right? So when the third fight, when the fighter from Jackson Wink comes out, they all stand up, and TV does that dude no justice. John Jones is huge, and
about 6'4".
the promoter comes over and goes, "Hey man, John Jones is taping. I need you to go over there and go tell him put that camera down or whatever." And I look like that, and I go, dude, I'm not going to go tell him nothing. I go, you go tell him. He goes, I'm not going to go. And then we looked at him and go, forget it. We just both went and didn't say nothing. But anyways, we got a few minutes left or whatever. Jessica, real quick, any last questions for him before we get out of here?
Albert, how do you feel as far as your daughter's dating fighters? I know that was a question they asked for up next. Everybody targeted Sony, right? I'll tell you why too.
I'll tell you what, he'll say this.
What the fuck?
No, I see a couple guys that are younger than us and they're already punch drunk. And like they'll come to fights, like you know what I'm talking about. They'll come to fights.
Yeah.
And they'll like want to like hug and like stay around. And then I'm like, hey, this is my dad. And I'm telling Favi like, hey, this guy's like punch drunk. And then like coaches will tell me like, hey, like we got you, like it's cool.
Yeah.
Then I have my other fighting friends that like I'll hang out with and I'll go out with, and Favi like never checks my location, doesn't text me, call me, where are you at? Because he's like, I know they got her, they're cool with her. So it's either that thing of like you're punch drunk, you can still take a little bit more punishment, or like you're done.
Yeah, there's certain ones that I'm like, okay, I got a full tank of gas. You feel uncomfortable, call me, I'll come get you. I don't care where you at. That's a good question, man.
Yeah.
My daughter's dating fighters. I don't want my daughter's dating anybody.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I'm super straightforward with my daughters. Even the 9-year-old. There's no hiding stuff from them. I keep it.
It never goes away. She's 30 years old. She goes out, at night. I'm like, hey man, I make sure I have a full tank of gas. I know whether any problems you feel, just come and get me or call me. I'll come and get you.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. I'm okay where they're at right now.
But it's the fight game. She's an inspector. So, hey, what's up? And all that. So it's always there. So, but you can kind of tell,
who's legit. Yeah.
But
I don't know. I mean, I guess at that point, if they're dating, I can't stop them, right? But no, I don't know.
Look, he's gonna go home. What you not gonna
I know,
do?
don't forget that.
Okay, first of all, you know who my dad is,
Yeah.
or whatever. But anyways, I got to tell you, man, it was a pleasure to have you on here. It's good that we have people like you on here to talk about, like Mike and I and Jessica were talking about, to the behind the scenes stuff like that, what you go through to get where you're trying to get to. Even Solomon, he's like, man, he's starting to see the behind the scenes stuff and what it takes to get there. So it works out really well. But Mike, a few minutes left. Any last questions for our man, and then just get us out of here. And you can't say this one.
What the fuck?
You know what? That's your favorite
You know what?
button. I see.
That's the only, I don't have my glasses. That's the only one I can see.
Oh my
and we're not going to
God.
do this one till you get out of here. So go ahead.
No, you know what? I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed, hearing your story and the fact that you said I went to jail and I made the decision that I'm gonna change my life and I'm gonna go fight. Because pretty much I'm not coming back here. I got a life to live. And that's what you're doing. And that's a story in itself. The fact that you took it upon yourself to build yourself up, to come out and make something of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you only got one chance to do this.
So after
And you're taking it and you're running with it and you're letting your kids see.
after his next
Daddy knows what he's doing.
after his
So I'm
next
proud of
fight,
you, bro.
we're gonna first of all, this man, you want to talk about a wallet? This
No,
guy's
I
got a
don't.
wallet.
No,
So we'll
no,
take you to the club
no.
bottle service, and it'll be like this.
Boy,
Albert, thank you for coming on though too. I do want to
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
I always
And
message
it was-
Albert all the time.
Yeah, it
after
was
I watch
Jessica.
the
She goes,
stuff.
"Hey, we got to get him on there." So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always message Albert and I say, you'll go to the UFC. You will.
yeah.
I do
Yeah,
believe you'll
he's
go
driven,
back.
man.
Yeah.
You could tell that.
Thank you.
Since you and I've been doing it, you can kind of tell the people who are driven and some that are like, because we've seen fighters that go, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Literally saying that or whatever.
And
But
much respect for you too, for what you do.
yeah, real quick, you want to give your social media and all that, so the people that are watching and listening to us. First of all, Mike. Well, I don't know about Mike, but I got a face for radio. That's why I try to stay away from the camera. But go ahead, give that social media.
Cool. It's Albert, the Belizean Warrior Morales. My Instagram is Warrior135UFC. I'm a kid from Reseda. I'm the #1 pound for pound in the United States outside the UFC. I'm going to be the next Los Angeles champion.
Definitely.
That's good to hear.
1 minute, Mike. Get us out of here.
Hey, on behalf of Favi, Jessica, and Albert and Solomon, we'll see you guys here next week on Scoop Slam Radio. Have a good night.
No chokes for Solomon. He gets to go on this one.